Hello everyone, welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. Here we are, of course, in Paris, and you're looking at Notre Dame Cathedral, as you can see. And last time you remember we went through this. Well, it's early in the morning today, and we're going to take a train ride because we're going to go all the way from Paris clear down to Lourdes, which actually sits right at the foot of the Pyrenees Mountains. And it's just an absolutely beautiful sight if the weather is clear.
Well, it's fun to ride on the train anyway because it's that bullet train,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives
Fast
you an
train.
idea of what they're talking about with the speed of it, and
Oh, yeah,
it's
it
not
really goes
noisy. It's a fun ride.
Well, of course, the trains there are just, I think, are magnificent because they're extremely clean. They have nice food on the train, and
And
you
room
can
for your
relax.
legs.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah.
It really is. And they have several different types of what they call the TVG, or their fast train. I know a couple of times before in Europe I've ridden them in France, and a couple of them were very luxurious. But depends on which one you get on, I guess, because they have lots and lots of them, and boy, they just speed around that
They
country
do.
so fast. It's incredible.
Well, it all depends too, Marv, when you're traveling by yourselves. When Suzanne and I were there, she didn't want any smoking section. She didn't want this. She didn't want that. But so you have to pay a little bit more then to get into.
yeah.
It's not like first class. It's just.
Well, I think it is.
Is it called first
Yeah,
class?
they have a
know.
first class and then the regular class.
Well,
yeah,
it costs a lot more.
You can do, yeah, I know. Well, if you buy a Euro pass, and then you go to to upgrade when you get over there, it will cost you more because the only way they do that is they sell you a first class ticket.
Yeah.
So, but I'll tell you what, it's worth
It was worth every
Yeah.
penny,
Oh,
every
really?
penny of it,
It was
truly.
wonderful. So here we are now at the train station, and this is just one of the train stations in Paris. And you will see right there's one of the TVG trains. And as we pull out of the station here, you're going to notice how large this station is.
And
it's
clean.
Yeah. And it's all sort of like a little bit undergroundish as such. But again, this was early in the morning, and there are a lot of commuter trains. I think our time was supposed to be about 5.5 hours, because we were traveling, quite a distance on this train, and so that's pretty good. It sure as heck beats driving it, I'll tell you.
Oh yeah, I guess. I don't know. I kind of like the bus because I like to be able to stop a little bit and get off if you see something interesting. But this was wonderful because it got us where we wanted to go in such a hurry. Yeah.
And as you can see, the immense terminal here, that it is really, really large. And you have to think that that so many people do travel by train, of course, in Europe, which is absolutely wonderful. Although we are seeing more and more cars all the time as the highways seem to become more and more crowded everywhere we go. So the train really is a nice, comfortable, relaxing, and quick way to get to your destination.
Yeah, if you're from one place to the other, but when you're on a tour, usually you like to have the tour bus because, as I said before, when you see something interesting, you can stop, and then there's stops for lunch, and it's just to sit. Of course, on the train you can walk up and down, but it was I liked it too. I'm not negative at all about it.
Very, very comfortable, and as I say, most of these trains look like they're relatively new.
Oh, how about that?
Well, I got up early in the morning. They were a little bit tired, so they're going to have a little snooze along the way.
That's a grandmother and daughter on this trip, Dee Dee and her granddaughter.
So we are going to be speeding along, as we can see. That's what we're doing right now, actually. And it was, as I say, very relaxing. And look at here, Betty, grapevines. You almost think that you were in the San Joaquin Valley, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Now, this kind of photography is great for you, isn't it? Because there's no windshield wipers going back and forth. There's no
just the
bumps,
telephone.
and there's
Just
no
the telephone poles
telephone
going by.
poles. But that isn't like when you have to what you have to contend with on a bus.
Especially if the windshield's dirty. Actually, some of the train cars, the windows were not quite as clean as I'd like. Anyway, we were stopping here in Bordeaux, and it was interesting because our stop here was longer than we thought it was going to be.
A little unexpected.
Right. All of a sudden, the train went on strike throughout France. And so here we sit.
It was It was so incredible. And we just stopped there and we, what's going on? What's happening? Are they waiting for a train to pass or something? Pretty soon, off goes our luggage. We had to take our luggage off.
Right.
And we sat there. We just sat there.
We sat there for several hours, as it were, and then we're trying to get information and find out, okay, are all the trains on strike or just a few of them? Well, probably 3/4 of the trains were on strike in France on that particular day. And this happens. The telephone system can go on strike, the transportation system can go on strike, and this is just the way that they do it.
And no warning.
Nope. And so, bingo, there we were, and we were thinking, okay, now how long are we going to have to be here in Bordeaux? We didn't have enough. We didn't know if we would have enough time to go in and see the city or not. And we thought, well, we'll probably hang out here at the train station, but and get a little bit of sun.
Yeah, but these people, they were just
Oh, it's wonderful.
wonderful.
Right.
They were so acceptive of course, there's not much else you can do, but there wasn't a single gripe from anybody. They treated it like a lark,
Right.
as
And
if
that's what
it's
happens.
an
You have to-
adventure.
You have to realize that sometimes happens. Anyway, we're back on the train once again, and now we're going to speed on down. Hopefully that there won't be any more stopping, as far as the strike is concerned. But they were running a few trains, and I would imagine even with the strike that they have to do that because the whole country could just, come to a standstill. But with enough trains that were on strike, they probably made a very, very strong statement to the government, for, hey, we want a little bit more
money,
euros.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, it made an impression on us, but then afterwards, you think about it and you laugh and you say, oh boy,
One of the
that
things
was
to
another
remember.
adventure. Yeah, yeah.
So we're traveling, of course, now south and a little bit to the east, and there is just beautiful countryside, as we can see all the way here. I mean, it changes quite a bit. We were there in the wine country, and now we're getting closer to the Pyrenees. And in a moment, we'll be able to see some actually of the snow-capped mountains that are there in the Pyrenees. And this will separate, of course, France from Spain, and that's the Basque country, of course, that we're kind of looking at in that over the hill there, as it were. We have traveled from Spain to France before with our bus, and we have come over the Pyrenees, and it is absolutely beautiful, beautiful drive. But here we are now. We have arrived in Lourdes, and they're going to take our luggage off for the final time off the train. And we'll notice here that they are really, really set up for pilgrims, especially pilgrims which we are, of course, ourselves here, but they're set up for pilgrims that are not ambulatory. And we can see here that some of the volunteers, and you'll see they sort of look like nuns, but they're dressed that way and all these people are volunteers. And you see the little wheelchairs that they have, and it's just amazing, Betty, to me, how you see all of this, and they are so well organized. It's wonderful.
Well, it's been going on for a long time, and this is such a mecca for people who are ill. This is something they look forward to be able to make the pilgrimage to Lourdes.
Right. And there are millions of people that come, of course, every year. And the town only has, 19 to 20,000 inhabitants. And sometimes during the winter, a lot of the hotels close down. Now, we've been fortunate. We've been there in the wintertime, and we've been there in the summertime. And, of course, this is in May that you see here. And this is the first time I've been here when there was a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And there's always something going on here at the Basilica. They're getting ready now for a procession, and I thought, gee whiz, doesn't the procession start at dark? No, with all of these people, you better start well before dark, or you're not going to have a procession.
This is kind of the ideal place to stand. You're way up on top by the Basilica, and so you can look down. But I never really think I got up there. I think maybe I start and then I go down to mingle with the people and sing the songs with them, and
I didn't realize it, but there were the apparitions that Bernadette had of Our Lady. One of the things that she said was that there was supposed to be a procession, and I didn't realize it. That was part of the.
Her orders, huh?
That she
well,
gave her,
it's amazing. And Marv, until I started doing a little research on this, I didn't realize that there were that many apparitions.
Yeah,
18 apparitions?
18 apparitions, right.
Yeah.
And of course, when she was a young girl when she did this, and her mother thought, hey, you're not going to go back there, because this was at a little grotto, and it was a little distance from her, from the house where they lived. And her father had a mill at one point in time, and then I think he lost that, and They really kind of
They
had
had
their
a
ups and
bad
downs as
time.
family.
They
yeah.
did. I really think it's funny because her mother's the typical mother. Because when the kid comes back and says, "Oh, I saw this," and she went around. She was embarrassed, I guess, because she ran telling people, "Oh, dear God, I have a silly and sickly daughter." Now she's taken to having visions as well. Because that would be such an incredible thing to have happen.
Well,
In a little village like that.
Of course, yeah. Can you imagine the talk that went around
She's
the
hearing
village like
voices,
that? Yeah,
something.
that kid is hearing voices and going to this grotto, which was kind of a nothing thing there by the side of the river, and just a bunch of rocks and things that were there. And that's where the visions appear. Some of the people said, well, why do these happen to children? Why do these apparitions happen to little children? And one of the thoughts is because the children are really very still pure of heart, and they really have not been, what do you want to say? They don't have their prejudices. They haven't been taught to hate or to whatever. And they're also saying, too, that children probably, because they don't know that much about world affairs or world events, and they certainly didn't. I mean, you didn't have radio or television in those days. And also that smaller children are probably a little bit more psychic, so they tune in more to the spiritual world.
Well, they didn't really have a lot of books like we have today for children to turn pages and see things. So they probably had a more acute sense of something that could be taking place, even though...
Well, what happens with all of these apparitions, or most of the Marian apparitions anyway, is that she's always predicting something that is going to happen worldwide, a worldwide event. And the kids have absolutely, the visionaries have no idea of that at all. But yet everything has come true that the vision has said. So this gives it quite a bit of credence and quite a bit of validity. Thousands upon thousands, well, I should say more than that, millions of people every year do come here to Lourdes, and this is part of the procession here. This is not a mass, but this is a procession, and you will hear the rosary being said in all sorts of different languages, and they have loudspeakers. This is set up extremely well, and there we see a fortification up on the hill, which we'll talk about a little bit later on.
Marv,
Betty, excuse me just a moment.
Yeah,
I wanted to show behind. I went on the other side. We can see where they light the candles. Now the grotto is still further down a little bit in relationship to where we are right now, but there are so many candles. There's so many people that you have to have a place to do that. And of course then the water, which is so important.
I always light a candle for our television viewers, and I bring back holy water or Lourdes water, and have it here for people that are really ill, and call and say, "Betty, have you got any more Lourdes water?" But what I was going to say in the beginning is the difference between Lourdes and some of the other places that we go. It's off by itself. There's no stores there. There's nothing to distract you other than the people. Mm-hmm. They're not selling anything. You're free to express yourself in prayerful ways without feeling embarrassed by it or anything. It's a more private, even with all these people, it becomes a private place for prayer.
We should explain that the water is very important. One of the apparitions, one of the last apparitions, I believe, Bernadette was there at the grotto, and of course she was the only one that was seeing the apparition. But a lot of townspeople were there as well. And she starts digging in the dirt, just digging in the dirt with her hands, and then they really thought that she had lost it. Well, what happened was when she started digging, all of a sudden water started coming up from this little puddle, and then the next day so much water was coming out it was like a well or like a spring, and that water is still today coming from the place where she actually dug that with her hands. And so it is very important. Now the other thing is that they have baths here as well, that some for men and some for women, that you can go in and take the baths. And that is quite an experience because that water is not warm.
I died. It was so, well, I've done it twice.
Water.
It was so cold that when I stood there and they told me now to get down into the water, I got down as far as my knees, and she said, "No, Betty, or Leighton, shouldn't call me Betty. Now you have to get down and submerge your body." I can't. Yes, you can. So I got down a little bit, not really good. And then
Did she dunk you?
No, but then she said to me, "All right, now, dear, tell the Blessed Mother what it is you would like to have her grant you. What is your wish?"
That this water be warm.
I'm so cold, I forgot. And I did. I did better the second time than that next time I went. But it was shocking. But I let all my people know don't worry about it. It is going to be cold, but you'll get over it.
But the amazing thing is, the minute you get out of that water and you go into the other room, you're all dried off.
That's right.
And you didn't even use a towel.
They don't give you.
That's amazing. They don't give you one.
They don't give you one.
In fact, they wrap you in a cold, wet sheet before you get in there. And I mean, it's an experience. It really is. But I think I've done it twice. But the water is a little cold. Now we can see that
isn't that beautiful? Yes.
As the procession goes on, of course, now it is getting more toward twilight, and you can see that the basilica here is lit up, and this is really quite an experience. This is the first time that I've been there with so many other people. We've been there before, and it was more in the wintertime, and there were just very few people. But now this is kind of one of the major times that we were there in May, and it was just really spectacular. I think, Betty, what I appreciate so much is that it's so universal, like the church, because you go there and you hear every imaginable language that you can think of. It is so wonderful, and all of the people here together, all from different countries, from near and far, from all over the earth, are here for the same thing, to give honor. Now, this is the grotto, and this is at night. But this is the statue that they have.
And it's open all the time.
Yes,
you
all the
can
time.
spend the evening there if you want, in meditation or whatever. Many people go back to their room and have dinner and then come back down and spend the evening.
Right.
And it's a place of such piety because everybody is there for a reason. They're not going just because they're on a tour and you have to see this and you have to see that. They go to Lourdes with their heart full of the love of the Blessed Mother, and it permeates. It's there.
Oh, it does. Yeah. Oh, you're right. It really does. It's a marvelous place, and in discovering Lourdes, being back so many times now, Lourdes, besides the faith aspect of it, there are so many other things there too. This is also a winter resort and a summer resort, because it's right at, as I mentioned before, it's right at the foot of the Pyrenees Mountains, and there's skiing there, there's mountain climbing, there's beautiful waterfalls, there's the forest there, there's also some beautiful lakes that are around there, and it is just absolutely a marvelous place here in the south of France. And I can see why people say, oh yes, I want to go to the south of France.
Yeah, unfortunately we don't have time to investigate all of these places that you're talking about, because when you go on a pilgrimage you have specific ideas and thoughts and destinations in mind. That doesn't mean we don't stop and see other things, but this is our destination.
Right. Now, Father Pat was going to say Mass for us, celebrate Mass for us, but we had a little bit of time, so right across from the Basilica, there's a Treasury Museum here, and so he went over to take a look at it. When he came back, I said, what did you think? He said, oh my goodness sakes alive, it's beautiful. There are several museums that are around Lourdes as well, and of course the houses where, the places where Bernadette lived. Now, this was a group of German pilgrims, and they were standing there, and then they were all getting ready. What they're going to do is the Station of the Cross. Now, the Stations of the Cross are up this hill over to the right, and it's quite a hike up there, but once you get up there, it is absolutely
It's worth it.
Beautiful. It really, really is. And they took the portable speakers, as you can see right there, and so the priest that was leading they were doing the stations there so everybody could hear. So now we're going to go inside a small chapel, and this is called the Chapel of St. Michael. This is one of the chapels in the old part of the Basilica, the church that's really up on top. And Father Pat is going to celebrate Mass for us, and he has a beautiful homily for us today, and I just wanted to share that with everybody because I thought it was so good. Again, here we are in this small little chapel, lots of mosaics here, and all of our people were here, and it was just a really wonderful and poignant moment for us to enjoy this beautiful Mass that Father was celebrating for us. And we're also, everybody I think really got a lot out of this Mass.
A reading from the book of Genesis. In those days, Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine, and being a priest of God Most High, he blessed Abram with these words: Blessed be Abraham by God Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who delivered your foes into your hands. Then Abram gave him a tenth of everything. The word of the Lord.
As we gather today on this feast of the body and blood of the Lord, we must realize that it is that wonderful gift of the Hebrew language that we must consider. And the Hebrew language says to us that it is more than just body that we are eating. It is more than just blood that we are drinking when we come to Holy Communion. Remember Thomas Aquinas, when he was striving to bring about the reality of the deeper understanding of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist, it was that we receive the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus. And so to have body, blood, soul, and divinity in front of us is the person, the whole person of Jesus. We are then receiving his whole person. We're not just receiving some of his flesh. And what we realize that in Hebrewic language, the word body is not a physical term. We in the West use the word body as a physical term. Every body needs milk, and we get a picture in our mind of a shapely body or someone who's worked out. And so for Jesus, when he uses the word body, he's really saying person. This is my person, my body, blood, soul, and divinity. So he says to us, eat my person. And so we, you and I, eat the person of Jesus Christ. We're not just eating a piece of his flesh. That's why when we have consecration in this particular bowl, we don't have 41 Jesuses. We have one Jesus. And you, each and every one of us, are partaking of the body, blood, soul, and divinity of the person of Jesus. So, not only then are we eating his person, but we are drinking. What are we drinking? We are not just drinking Jesus's blood. We are drinking his life. Remember in the movie, The Passion, Mary was on the ground. And in this particular, after the flagellation of Jesus, what was she doing? The wife brought her huge, almost like sheets. And she got on the ground, and she was wiping it up, and she wasn't just scrubbing it to get it up off the ground. She was wiping it with long, slow motions of absolutely trying to collect what she had there in the blood of her son. Because that was his life. Jesus really says to you and me, eat my person and drink my life, and you will have life within you. So we are drinking the life of Jesus. That's why all of his blood has to run out, so that his life is given for us, so that we might have life eternal. Now, on the Friday, after the second Sunday after Pentecost, we celebrate the feast of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And remember, we were at the site where the experience of Catherine Labouré was with Mary the Immaculate Conception, but it's where that Sacred Heart process coming to the whole church began with Catherine Labouré. In the time of us in the West, you and I very much connect to the heart of Jesus, because we say it's in his heart that he loves us. But if Jesus, the Hebrew person standing in front of us today, would say that he loves us, he would not say to you and me, I love you with all my heart. If he was true to his Jewish heritage, he would have to say to you and me, I love you with all my blood, because I love you with all my life. But we in the West have connected heart to life, but not in the East. And so that's why the statue points to the heart. Jesus points to his heart and invites us to come, all you who are weary and find life burdensome, and I will refresh you. Take my yoke upon your shoulders and learn from me, because I am meek and humble of heart. It's the invitation that you find in French all the way around this grotto and Lourdes, because it is that which I just mentioned, which is the theme of this year here in Lourdes. Come to me, all you who are weary and find life burdensome, and I will refresh you. Take my yoke upon your shoulders and learn from me, because I am gentle and humble of heart. Jesus is inviting all of us to bring all of our problems to what we understand to be his life, to his heart. To bring all of our worries, to bring all of our children and our grandchildren to his heart, those that we sometimes worry about. Bring them all to him, and he will refresh you.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed our show today, and that's about all the time we have. If you're interested in what's coming up, give Betty a call at
559-488-7443.
and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.